I'm Tabitha Rock.
And I'm Sam Davenport.
Born and bred in Melbourne, we live and breathe property, and we know the Melbourne market like the back of our hand. We've both been buying and selling real estate in Metro Melbourne for over 2 decades combined, and we've learned a few lessons along the way. Okay, so last time we were in your ears, I gave you my renovation lessons, tips, learnings, whatever you like to call them. Sam, it's your week this week.
I know.
I can't wait to hear what you've got to say.
Pass the baton.
I'm passing it. I'm happy to pass it. I want to hear all your lessons.
I know. I feel like I have a lot of wisdom to impart on the people about renovations. It's just one of those things where obviously we have worked with vendors in preparing their properties for sale for so many years. You know, we're coming up to like 16 years doing that. And that spectrum of work really ranges from, you know, cleaning up the garden all the way to installing new kitchens, redoing bathrooms and things like that. So we would still consider those minor renovations. But when I bought my first house, and it was, I like to call it, you know, a wooden tent.
You love calling it that?
I do love to call it that. It's really what it was. I mean, it was a freestanding, double-fronted, block-fronted Victorian, unrenovated, and barely livable, realistically. There was people living there, which there often is.
Yeah, tenants. They just, mind you, the standards have changed.
Yeah. Well, it was owner-occupied by a lovely, you know, couple who were going into aged care. They'd been there since day dot, raised their now absolute adult children in the home, and had done all of the works they'd done inside were to suit the mum, who would have been about 4'8". So the kitchen benches were to my knees. You know, it was a very it was interesting, but it had good bones, okay?
The fundamentals were there.
Exactly. And so when we bought it, obviously like all first home buyers, we really stretched to buy it. But we needed to make it comfortable and livable for quite a period of time because we weren't going to be able to do a big renovation to it for years to come. So we did it in the classic 2-stage. I say classic. We often talk to people about doing things like this in a 2-stage attack, just to help with that financial position. You know, you've got to get yourself into a position where you're saving enough money, or you've gained enough capital in the property, or, you know, the value of the property's increased enough whereby you can then refinance, get the money, or have saved, however you're going to attack it. So we did, you know, pulled out all of the existing kitchen, just put in the classic IKEA kitchen, you know, left the bathroom as it was, left the toilet outside, all of those things. But painted, put new, you know, IKEA blinds on all of the windows, just made it neat enough and comfortable enough to live in, and it gave us another 5 years.
Wow.
So that's really, you know, stage one, being able to give us that extra 5 years, put us in a position where we were so prepped and ready and prepared and realistically desperate for this big renovation that was coming down the track. And in doing the big renovation, we knocked off the whole back half of the house and rebuilt it, knocked off the front, like facade, like the veranda, and rebuilt that, redid all of the gardens and everything. So we did quite a big renovation in the end. So we've got some lessons for you.
Great. Tell them to me, girl.
The first thing is getting the right team around you. And understanding who you need in your team, because you don't depending on what you're doing, you don't necessarily need an architect and an interior designer and a builder and, you know, all of these different people. You don't obviously need a drafts person if you're dealing with an architect. So working out the scope of work you're planning to do and then what team you're going to need around you to execute it is obviously the first point.
Yeah, and I think the order in which you engage them, so do you go straight to the architect that's then going to engage the builder, or do you speak to a builder that has architect contacts? Which way around did you do that, or did you get an architect?
So I knew exactly what I wanted my floor plan to be. So I had drawn out the floor plan over and over and over again, tweaking it until it was exactly what I knew we were going to do. So in terms of getting an architect involved, we didn't. I knew that I didn't need an architect. I knew that all I needed was a drafts person to draw up my floor plan in a technical capacity to be able to give to the builder. So we met with the builder, even if I was unsure about whether I was going to work with an architect. The number of people I've spoken to who have engaged an architect as their first point of call, spent all this money on getting these plans drawn up, then gone to a builder and realised those plans are over budget and not been able to execute the plans. That was a waste of money and time. So I would always, and I did, engage the builder first, or a builder, multiple builders, bring in 3 or 4 builders to the property, walk around with them, talk to them about what your plans are, get them to give you a quote, a loose quote, and then now you know a baseline of what you're working with.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that also when you walk through your property with different builders, you get little 1%ers from them.
100%. Take all their little ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. And just in relation to the floor plan and pulling down the back half of a house, I know you obviously walk through so many different properties and get inspiration of different floor plans by that. But I often say to clients, just look at property that have sold really well in your area, not just the suburbs, surrounding suburbs as well. Check out the floor plan, find a house that's sort of comparable to yours, and then get some inspiration that way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the way that we know what we're looking at is because we've walked through that many properties and we've seen that many renovations, and we just literally cherry pick our favorite parts and then, create your dream home. But getting that initial quote from the builder is going to confirm whether or not, loosely speaking, you're in the ballpark for your budget and for what your plan is and what you're going to do. So that's sort of the first step. Now working out, obviously, a contract or specifying everything with the builder. So you've met all these builders. Now you're going to choose your favorite one. Good luck to you. It's just like, the stuff that can go wrong in working with builders is pretty devastating. But obviously meeting with them in person, going and seeing a lot of their past work, speaking to previous clients, you always ask for their two most recent jobs, not their favorite ones, not their favorite clients, but just their 2 most recent jobs. Go and look at the quality of work, speak to the owner and find out how was the process with that builder. Just get a really good idea of who you're going to be working with, because you are going to be in each other's pocket, working very closely through a lot of difficult conversations, difficult moments for a long time. So you want to be.
How long did your build take?
8 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't too bad, but obviously we had to move out and we had Barneys at times.
You and the builder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and the builder. Yeah.
Because you also project managed it, didn't you? Did you get the different trades, or you just had the builder? Because I felt like you were coordinating different people.
Yeah, so I just had my builder, and then he used his trades.
Right, okay.
So I in that initial first stage renovation, I did that.
Yes.
But that was minor. But no, I used his trades, which, was it better? Maybe not. I don't know. He's not on the tools, the guy that I engaged.
Yeah.
He's the project manager. But the second, so getting the right team around you obviously, but the second biggest lesson I learned, which I really didn't know much about this at all, was the concept of the contract with the builder. So contract pricing and the contract as a whole.
Yeah.
That process of getting that contract locked away took way longer than I would have ever expected, because I didn't know that there's 20% builder's margin for any alterations or changes that are made through the process.
I think after COVID, people are so aware of changes to contracts, amendments to those builders' contracts, because I feel like you just heard, their prices from the suppliers were changing, so they were just increasing.
Yeah, exponentially.
Yeah.
So anything that's specified in your contract with the builder, anything that's been written in, is included in the price that's on that contract. But if you make any amendment to it, then it's an extra charge, and it's plus 20% builder's margin. So if the job itself costs $1,000, you've now got to pay obviously $1,200.
Yeah.
200, right?
Correct.
So making sure that you're really, really, really taking your time in getting that contract right. There is no point rushing that process. If you rush that process and you don't have that contract really nice and tight and outlining exactly what you think you want, then it's going to bite you down the track. And obviously that's how people get over budget, because you've got this specified budget and you think, oh, great, I'm under budget. No, if you haven't locked that away perfectly, you're going to have, things come at you down the track. But part of that, getting that contract together, is also specifying intense detail. And I always thought, oh, that's just expected. That's just known. Like, obviously I want my door handle height at this height. No, you've got to specify the height at which you want your door handle.
Yeah.
Like, what is standard?
Yeah.
And also with, so I got caught out on door heights. So the height of the actual physical door. So my ceiling heights were like 3.2 meters high, which is very high ceilings. If you have a standard door height, it looks ridiculous. Yeah. So obviously you need like a big, tall custom, and whether or not, this is another point, whether or not you want to get custom, all of these things custom, obviously that's going to cost more. But have a look and see what is the tallest standard door height. Yeah. So, so in the end we got those. And so then that looked much better. But that caught me out on the day. I came through when it was being framed up and I was like, what's this? What is this? He's like, the door heights. And I'm like, no, we need it right up. So then they had to go back and.
So through that process of planning with the builder, do they sort of go into granular detail, like how many lights in this area? Are we doing dimmers? What's the door height? What's the handle height? What's the floor like connection? How are we going to connect the two different floorings here? What are the light switches going to be? Matte, black, white, special color, chrome or whatever? Yeah. Do they have a sort of a format and a questionnaire and a let's go through dot by dot?
It depends which builder you'd work with. I would imagine with really good quality builders, they would definitely be doing that. But you generally provide it to them. So you need to give them an electrical plan. So to answer the question on lights, yes, you have to give them an electrical plan. So I literally put in the floor plan where I wanted all the downlights to be.
But they didn't give you any recommendations on that?
No.
That's really interesting, because I have looked over some renovation tips and just putting different lighting over your island bench and that sort of thing.
You've got to specify that, And you've got to specify like, how, so say for example, if you're in the living room lights, often you're going to want to have two switches that connect to that light because you want it at your back door and you also want it as you go to bed. So it's like even that, you have to specify all of that. They don't come in and go, you know what? Well, again, it does depend on the builder. In my experience, and the builder that we went with was one of the cheapest builders who submitted for the business, and that was a budget constraint. So I knew I was going to be able to ride him. So I knew that that we were going to be able to save that money because I was on maternity leave when we did our build. So I went to site every day. Knock, knock.
They would have loved that.
With baby in hand, knock, knock.
Yeah. Don't yell at me. I'm with child.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was there every day. So I knew that I was catching, if there was going to be issues, I was going to be able to see them as they unfolded, which I did, which is why I have so many, lessons to learn from that process. But yeah, you've got to specify it all. And that's literally point number 3 for me is specify, get into the granular detail. Like, we had sliders for all of our doors and in the bathroom, they had framed it up and I'm looking at the frame and I'm like, how is the door going through the frame? Like the frame was built in on the side that the door was supposed to slide into. And he's like, no, it's going to slide that way, like into the vanity. And I was like, no, it's got to go that way. And that to me is obvious just in terms of us walking through 1,000 houses. That's very obvious that it goes that way. But I don't know whether builders and who's there framing it, who knows? They're just like, dung, 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 whatever. They're not thinking.
I recently was in a property that's renovated in the last 2 years and the laundry is shoved in this tiny little sort of almost cupboard in the hallway and
isn't enough room to fit the washing machine and dryer. So it's like out of the cabinetry in this like $3-4 million house in an exclusive Bayside suburb. I just thought, did the architect think about this? Did the builder think this through? Like, who's doing the washing in their house?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. You're doing the washing in your house. So it's like, I think in a way it is up to us to be across those mistakes. So how often have you gone into a powder room in the houses that we've seen where it's too narrow?
Yeah.
It's too tight, or the door doesn't close, or the door touches your knees, or something weird happens. And that's just a mistake in the renovation process. And you can avoid those by really specifying the detail. Like you brought it up before, but the flooring, so flush flooring, right? So we did concrete slab in the back and underfloor heating throughout, but all of the through the hallway. So it was concrete slab in the hallway, and then you had bathroom to the left, laundry and powder room to the right, and then you keep going. And they had laid the slab all one level, all through the laundry and the bathroom and the main area. And I'm walking through and I'm like, so what happens when you put the tiles on top of the slab? And he's like, oh, so it obviously raises. And I'm like, no, I want it to be flush, obviously. But I hadn't specified that. But that was early days. And so he just totally was like, oh, yeah, no, that's okay. We're grinding it down. They definitely don't grind it down as a standard. This is definitely supposed to put some sort of a barrier and then lay it a little bit lower to allow for the rise. But anyway, he ground it down. My neighbours, when I went there one day, my neighbours who were living there basically on a building site, they were like, what are they doing?
Oh,
they had been grinding down the laundry, whole laundry room, whole central bathroom, which was big, grinding down the bloody slab to allow for the tile.
Oh, gosh.
But I hadn't specified that. So specifying that in the contract would have avoided that issue. Sourcing your own fixtures and fittings, but making sure you use your builder's codes. So that, again, is just part of that preparation process, making sure you've got everything sourced, everything ready to go. If they are waiting for your light to arrive, that's can be a pause on everything. If they're waiting for your sinks to come, you should never be the one who's holding up the process. Like, you go to them, you're the one prepared. If there's ever an issue from their side, we all know who's at fault.
Yeah.
But you don't want to be sitting there going, oh, actually I want this, actually I want that. Oh, now I've changed my mind that I want this light, which is now going to change the fit out from the electrician who's already been and gone.
Yeah. But conversely, I do remember during your build that you, years in advance of starting the build, started buying fixtures and fittings in a certain colour, and then, as the time got closer, wanted to maybe divert from that plan. So also, I think one can get excited when they're starting the planning of the renovation and they see something online for a discount, so they purchase it. And then that's not, working cohesively with the design.
Totally.
So just be careful of that too, getting overly eager early on.
100%.
That's why you can see so many tiles and fixtures and fittings for sale on Facebook Marketplace, because people change their minds all the time.
All the time. Oh, my God. I literally bought all of my tapware maybe 2 years before we did the build.
Expensive tapware.
It was expensive. It was gorgeous, but it was expensive. But, in the end, they did look great. But I went with a brushed
black.
No, brushed gold.
Oh, brushed gold. I thought it was matte black.
No, brushed gold. And then I did everything else brushed nickel, which everyone just go with brushed nickel.
Okay, that's a key lesson.
Yeah.
We're giving you 6, not 5.
Yeah, just go with brushed nickel. But yeah, knowing exactly what your plan is and making all your choices ahead of time is definitely like, I've got a good friend of mine who's a builder and he's working with a client at the moment, and he's saying that they're like in the bathroom. Wait, here's going to be my other big one, which has literally occurred to so many people. This is part of specifying and choosing everything and being across all of the minute details that take place. Your grout colour in your bathroom is up to you to choose. If you leave it to the tiler or to the person who's doing the grout, they'll choose.
That's like caulking.
Yes.
So I bought new build in Paran, like this beautiful architectural design, and it had this sort of like grey caulking throughout, like joinery. I don't know whether I liked it or I didn't, but anyway, you definitely need to specify that as well.
Yeah, and what it looks like on the paper, what it looks like wet, and what it looks like dry are 3 different colours. So it's up to you to go to the shop, get the grout or get the colour caulking, lay it out, let it dry for a few days, go back to it, confirm the colour with them. There's more colour choices of grout than you would believe. And it is, if you're trying to do a really streamlined effect of a white tile, obviously if you put anything other than a white grout there, it changes the entire concept of the look. So if that's what the look you're wanting to go for, you need to specify that grout colour.
I think after this conversation, this is why everyone just goes with like a Glenville home, because there's like 3 options. Pick one.
I know.
It doesn't get confusing. You don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because you can. When you walk into Reese Plumbing and they're showing you 59 taps and shower heads and colours and finishes, and it can get pretty overwhelming.
It can. I found it just totally fun. I thought the whole thing was fun, even though it was like a lot to deal with and it was stressful. But I think that if you know what you're looking for, when you go into a shop, you filter through everything quite quickly going, that's not it, that's not it, that's not it, that's sort of it, that's close. I'm going to put those 2 here. Yeah. Now I'm going to labour over that for a month.
Did you use like a mood board type thing, Pinterest, to keep it cohesive throughout? Because that's what I would do. I'd be like, I want this Moroccan themed room. No, I want to be in the Hamptons in this room. Yeah. And then I'm all over the place.
I definitely did. Yeah, I think you have to, because otherwise, it's easy to get lost on your path. But I just had basically a folder in my photos in my phone just saying like house reno, and then I would add stuff to it that I liked, but then you consistently filtering back through that, deleting stuff that's no longer fitting the style. But that's it, guys.
Love it. That was a lot. I think that was more than 5. Did we specify it was going to be 5? Did you?
No.
I don't know. I gave you 5 last time, so I just assumed you were only going to give us 5, but you gave us a lot more.
Yeah. Well, get the right team around you, get the contract in order, specify the detail, source your own fixtures and fittings in the lead up, and know exactly what your plan is.
Love it.
It feels like it's all one lesson.
No, it's definitely different. Definitely.
That's it from us.
Let's F, marry, kill.
Yes. Marry, kill.
Were you going to forget?
I was going to forget.
The best part. What are we doing today?
Okay. Obviously renovation related.
Okay.
F, marry, kill, over budget, over time, or poorly executed but on time and in budget.
Oof. I'm killing poorly executed. No one wants that. No one needs that in their life because, that's not a vibe. And then I'll probably marry over time. And I'm probably effing over budget.
Yeah.
Like, because I can make more money. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
And, like, I've got time. I'm in an Airbnb. I'm in a rental. Not a problem.
Yeah. Money comes and goes. Abundance, people. Definitely marrying over time, definitely killing poorly executed. There's no excuse.
No.
And it will cost you money in your future.
100%.
So anytime that people want to sell their poorly executed renovated homes, they do not get anywhere near the price they're expecting to achieve. If they had have just spent the extra, little bit during the renovation to get it done properly, they would have received a much better payout in the end. And over budget, I'll F over budget all day, every day.
Yeah.
Done.
Love it. Thanks for the tip, Sam.
My pleasure.